We are here again, me, myself, and I. This is the person here that back when my son was little, tiny infant, we're talking tiny infant, bassinet size, but would fit in the bassinet, not the size of the bassinet. Okay, here she comes. Whoops, I didn't mean to go there yet. Here she comes, little Miss Big social worker with her braces. 35 years old with braces. Now, if you were a 35-year-old with braces that didn't look like me and I was looking really good, wouldn't you be kind of on my tail end too? Because that's exactly what I think of this person. She was on my tail because I didn't wear braces and she was a little bit itchy about that. Just like, well, Marge Harland, the one with the smiley faces on my husband's papers that she turned in saying she had used the technique called flooding, which is brainwashing. She was probably a little bit edgy against me too, because I didn't have to hypnotize my man to make them do what I wanted them to do. To get my man to do what I wanted them to do, I just turned on a little bit of charm. I didn't have to, hypnotize them. Which brings us back to Codename Nietzsche and what she had to do to her men, because they were busy pushing her away from him. She had to put him in a pumpkin shell. But anyway, this is the focus right this second. Okay? She comes flitting over here. We'd already lost one son, which was bad enough. I ended up 30 days in the hospital recovering from that because nobody would listen to me. They didn't want to believe that I knew anything about anything. They're only the smart people, not me. That was their opinion. So when I told them my son was sick, there was something wrong with him, they should have checked instead of fluffing it off. Oh, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. Okay? He died. There I am pregnant again, a short while later, this time with Bradley. And here comes Miss Julie, with her big old mouthful of metal. You all need to spend 2 weeks apart. I still don't know why. Why would someone like her try to tell me how I should live my life? Okay? I don't think it's supposed to work that way. It should have been me saying, okay, Miss Julie, but how about you wait until you get the braces off your teeth? And then we'll talk about it. But, that's not going to work either. These people get a bone of contention against someone, and they're going to write it and write it and write it. They're going to mind rape you. They're going to rape you with it. And that's how they are. And she made us spend 2 weeks apart, as fragile as I was having lost my first son, after being told it was all in my head. So I had to stay in this house with my mother and my son. I slept in my own room in a twin bed. My son slept in a bassinet in the kitchen. Now, how wonderful is that? While my spouse stayed clear across town, north of the tracks, on Celine and Engineer, and we didn't have a vehicle then, and he had to walk over to see me all the time, and we talk on the phone. Attitude is what this person here had. against me. Her big, fat, ugly attitude. How would you like it, Julie, if somebody came along and decided your husband's and your marriage just was not up to par? When they said, look, you're going to spend 2 weeks apart. How would you like that? You probably wouldn't like it at all, would you? But then I started finding these little things, and I'm still not real sure what this junk here is. Some kind of chemical she's involved in for something. Which is horrible. I'm already going to know it's horrible because she's horrible. She's a horrible, horrible, horrible person. Her and Marge, too. Marge, who has to hypnotize her men to get them to do what she likes, because they won't do it on their own. You tell me if that's not Fema-frickin-Nazi. Feminazi, because there's two of them in one video. Marge the Feminazi and Julie the Feminazi. I was hearing stuff in my kitchen. Stuff falling about. How can you say that's not feminazism? It is. Then see our friend, we had a mutual friend, and we found out about her being his friend too, from up at Lamont. He had told us he had worked for the CIA, and then he knew our story, was still nice to us, still kind, still invited us over to his dinner party. And then he said, Julie Hardy's supposed to be here. I kind of chuckled. I'm like, oh, this could prove interesting. But guess what? Little Miss Dr. Julie decided she didn't want to show up then, because we were going to be there. Boop, boop, boop. How could she? Just what was the point? You all got to sleep apart for 2 weeks. I already was healed up from having Brad. Julie and her ego thing. I guess power tripping. Power tripping Julie and her ego thing. And Marge, who has to hypnotize men, do flooding and brainwashing to get them to do what she wants. See, I'm old now. It's hard for me to sing out. I used to just sing these old things out at them. Bloom, bloom, bloom. That's just part of the problem. Part of the horror story of this town. What would make someone like Marge Harlan tell some guy, any guy, could have been your all's husband's, to go home and live out his fantasy with a stepdaughter? Because that part of John's record doesn't exist. I went down, I've told you before in a video, and had him look it up, and there was nothing that he had spent time in that county jail or anything. My dad and I had made the trip up to Boonville, where that case had supposedly been handled. The clerk came back up and said she couldn't find anything. Okay, so with that, in mind, how does someone get sentenced as a repeat offender without a prior? That's insane. Totally insane. I've been victimized by these insane people for most of my life, clear back to the abusive daycares in the 60s. Time and time again. If it wasn't being forcefully separated from my spouse for 2 weeks, then it was them trying to put me in prison for having locks on my doors. You know, they have ridden my ass, excuse my language, for so damn long. It's a wonder I haven't killed them. My mother kept me from going off totally on Denise Woolery, another one of their little, whatever you want, stooge, whatever you want to call her. A big stooge for pocket change. Wrecking people's life for joy, for grins and giggles. 3 of them right there. March Harlan, Julie Hardy, Denise Woolery. If I'm not a $1 billion lawsuit waiting to happen, who is? Because Denise told me flat out one time, nobody tries to turn me in. Nobody tries to turn me in. My mother was the only thing that saved you, Denise. I would have shredded you to ribbons. Nobody tries to turn me in. Power! If she wasn't busy power tripping at my house, she was busy power tripping at somebody else's house. Say that isn't so. Another one. Durwood Guth, the one that made us go all through that counseling, giving us the impression and the false hope that if we did everything, our son could come home. So we championed every single session with him. The very last one, he says, oh, Bradley can't come home. As if he did not know. But don't you know, that charged to somewhere. All those sessions were charged, and he got paid. So don't tell me this is a wonderful frickin' place to live. I hate this place. If it does turn into the movie The Black Hole, you can look at March Harlan, Julie Hardy, Denise Woolery, Durwood Guth, Tom Mefford, just to name a very, very few. See you in the next video.